Okay, parametric curves, part video part 1. So we have x given cosine t in terms of parameter t y equal 1 plus sine t, where t is found between 0 and 2 pi. First, we have to find the domain, and they gave us the domain. It's from 0 to 2 pi. Here we don't have limits, right? This is the domain, then we do the limits. Here we don't have limits because we have endpoints. We should know as t equals 0, x of 0 is the same of 2 pi, right? Which is equal cosine t, which is 0, which is 1. And as y of 0 equal y of 2 pi, the same, because it's 1 plus sine t, 1 plus sine 0. Sine 0 is 0, the answer is 1. So we have just 1 point, which is, 1, 1. And this is for 0 to pi. Then we do the derivative, right? What is the derivative? Derivative is y prime, and y prime is equal to y dot over x dot. What is that? Let's do it here. dy over dt is the y dot, because it's the derivative of y with respect to the parameter t, is equal by chain rule dy over dx times dx over dt. And dx dt is the value, we call it x dot, which is the derivative with respect to variable t or parameter t. All right, so this is y dot equal y prime times x dot, then y prime equal y dot over x dot. So what is y dot first? Y dot is the derivative of y in terms of parameter t, so it's the derivative of 1 plus sine t. Derivative of 1 is 0, derivative of sine t is cosine t, And what is x dot? X dot, derivative of x with respect to parameter t, derivative of cosine t is minus sine t. So this will be equal to cosine t over minus sine t. The answer is minus. Cosine divided by cosine is cotangent t, right? Now, let's study the sign of this tangent. Y prime, which is equal to negative cotangent t. Let's study the sign of this derivative. All right, let's go back to unit circle, trigonometric circle. Trigonometric circle is from 0 to pi by 2 to pi to 3 pi by 2 and to 2 pi, right? Again, we can use all. Students, try cheating. Here all of them are positive, including the cotangent. Here only tangent and cotangent are positive, since cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, right? So from t between 0 and pi over 2 and t between pi and 3 pi over 2, the cotangent is positive. This means the minus cotangent is negative. Y prime, which is again negative cotangent t, will be positive in the other two places, S and C. So where t between pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2, pi by 2 and pi by 2 and pi, and where t between 3 pi by 2 and 0, which is 2 pi, right? This is the sign of this derivative. We have something very important now here. We have what at 0, at pi by 2, and at 3 pi by 2, where t equal 3 pi by 2. Let's leave the, okay, let me do it in this side here. Okay, let's see what will be the derivative. The derivative at t equal pi over 2 and at t equal and at t equal 3 pi over 2, what happens, right? The derivative, which is cotangent pi over 2, it's like cotangent pi over 2, it's cotangent pi over 2 is 0, right? Because it's cosine over sine, so it is 0. And as well at 3 pi over 2. In these both cases, the derivative, which is cotangent, will be 0. When we have 0 derivative, what do we mean by that? 0 derivative, this means the tangent at these points, at t equal pi over 2 and t equal 3 pi over 2, we have horizontal tangents. Since the derivative is 0, so we have horizontal tangents. Now, at t equals 0 and t equal pi, cosine 0, sorry, is 0, and then cosine 0, sorry, is 0, then the cotangent, which is sine 0 is 0, then the cotangent, since the cotangent is again cosine over sine, right? When we have t is 0, at t is 0, the denominator will be 0, so it will be undefined. Same for pi, sine 0 is 0 and sine pi is 0. This means the cotangent have a 0 in its denominator. This means the cotangent 0 is undefined, right? So at this case, the derivative tends to infinity in this case. So the derivative tends to infinity in this case, right? So we can say that at t equals 0 and t equal pi, the curve has vertical asymptote. Derivative tends to infinity. This means, or slope, infinity slope, right? This means we have vertical tangents at these points t. This is very important. Now, let's find the second derivative, right? The second derivative. What is the second derivative? The second derivative is by the rule y 2 dots x dot minus y dot x 2 dots over x dot to the power 3. Now, what do we have as y dot? Y dot, we found it. It's cosine t. So what is y 2 dots? Y 2 dots is derivative of cosine t is minus sine t. Minus sine t. It's not working, the pen. Minus sine t. And what is x dot? X 2 dots, sorry. It's the derivative of x dot, which is minus sine t. Then it is minus cosine t. Let us find the second derivative. Y double prime is equal to y 2 dots, which is minus sine t, and x dot, which is minus sine t. So the answer will be sine square t minus the y dot is cosine t, and the x 2 dots is minus cosine t. So it's minus cosine square t times minus, it's plus cosine square t over x dot cube. This means over minus sine cube t. The final answer will be minus 1 over sine cube t. Then the sign of this second derivative depends on the sign of this sign, because it's power 3, right? It's power 3. If t included between pi and 2 pi, if t included between pi and 2 pi, this means in this portion here and in this portion here, the sign is negative down, because s is positive and a all are positive. So it's positive up from 0 to pi is positive, the sign, and from pi to 2 pi the sign is negative. Great. So the sign here is negative. The minus 1 over sine cube t will be positive. This means y double prime is positive in this case. If t included between 0 and pi, this means the second derivative is negative in this case. because the sign will be positive, minus 1 over sine cube t, which is the derivative, will be negative value.